Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's R James back for another video, but this time there are no art tutorials because today I'll be answering all of your questions that was sent to me via Instagram. I think a day ago I posted something on Instagram like ask anything about Beija region, and to be honest, it's sad, it's a bittersweet moment that Beija is closing its end, but at the same time I want to answer all of your questions. If you have any clarifications, if you want to know more about Beija that I didn't explain on my post. So before we begin, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel as I'm still trying to grow my YouTube channel and I want to transfer to YouTube as a PokeTuber. With that being said, let's get on to the video and answer all of your questions. Alright, let's begin with question 1. Will you make a game of this region or is this already a game? Listen. We as Pokémon creators, we don't have the team, the budget, and the technology to actually create such game to be played on your mobile or on your PC. But as Pokémon creators, you know, technically it's still a game because we're inviting everyone to play along. We're encouraging everyone to leave their comments as a sign of recording your adventure through our regions. You know, you have the chance to collect our Pokémon, you have the chance to battle all of our trainers, and you get the chance to build this community with other people who are participating. So I think it's such a fantastic idea that you're not just posting all of your artworks and call it a Pokémon region. No, you're building a plot, you're building a whole community, and you're encouraging everyone to be immersed into it. What would your personal Beija team be? You know what, I haven't actually thought of thinking of my own team, but now that it's asked, maybe it's time to think about it. Definitely, I would choose Slithel as my starter, turned into a Frizzanaja. I would choose Gorgord, one of the cutest, underrated mons, if I would say myself. And then I would go with Verdalura, Asmodiscus, Prosperor, and Cylone. I think Cylone was only revealed with the Ancient Masters, but their Dex entries has not been posted yet. But yeah, technically Cylone is the new Ancient Evolution of Golduck. That is, for me, is already one of my favorites. Next is, what's your favorite Pokemon in the entirety of your region? I can actually think of probably 3. I mean, I already mentioned that Frizzanaja is one of my favorites. It has such an amazing design for me. Snake Pokemon. I love snakes, by the way. And then the idea of it being a fire and ice type is very unique and very cool for a starter because you will never think of that as a starter. And then I would also have to say Jadasattva, our third legendary mascot. It's actually Bodhisattva, if the name is not obvious itself. So the name is derived from Jade and Bodhisattva. It's Jadasattva. Okay, I think I'm gonna reveal the typing now. It's going to be a Bug Holy Pokemon, which for me, I wanted the first Bug legendary to be in the Beija region. Yeah, I guess that's it. Next question is, how did you come up with the decision of not giving the Beija starters Mega Evolution? Okay, first things first, I wanted everyone to enjoy the starters as it is because technically they're like secondary mascot of the whole region. So I want them to be remembered as they are. You know, just ordinary starters, grass, water, and fire. For me, giving them a mega immediately on the region that they were introduced is not very impactful for my taste. I mean, it still depends on everyone else, but for me personally, I would prefer to give them megas or an upgrade on the future regions or projects that I'm going to make. But, you know, as it is, I think I would just prefer to see them as they are. Next is, who is your favorite Pokemon you have designed or had fun making? I think it's basically the 3 legendary Pokemon, you know, Nezaruda, Zulaubing, and Jadasattva. They are so inspired. They're just a treat to the eyes to look at. If you look at Nezaruda, of course, obviously it's based on Neza, if it's not obvious enough, and then Zulaubing is from Aobing, again, very obvious from their names. Only if you don't know, of course, any Chinese mythology, but those 3 for me, I think they had the most time when I was making concepts and I was designing them. I think it took me a day for each to create, but when they were finished, I was just like, I was also impressed with myself. Is this series more based on China or Japan? China, Jesus Christ. It's China. The map is China. Beija is literally Beijing.
And the theme of it is very Chinese. I mean, if you don't really know how to, differentiate Japan and China, that's kind of crazy. But
it's China. I don't want to make a big deal out of this. It's China. Beija, Beijing. What made you think of doing a China-inspired region? Justice. Black Myth Wukong, I know some of you have already played it. It's just an amazing game. The moment I experienced that, I was just like, this is full of references that is worthy of turning into a Pokémon project or a Pokémon region. I was enjoying Black Myth Wukong. There's just so much lore, character, and mythology put into it, and I was just like so inspired. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make a China-based region. I have no knowledge about China culture in general. I mean, maybe a little because Philippines has a lot of Chinese tradition up to this point. But I wanted to create a region that is solely based on China with Black Myth Wukong as my whole reference. Suddenly I don't know how to read. How does Jadasattva fit into the Beija Guild War? Without giving away too much, I think I posted something about how Nezaruda and Zulu were captured by the ancient masters, and that Jadasattva was just basically looking for his brothers or friends. And then when Yuzan resurrected these ancient masters, you know, their life force were triggered, and Jadasattva was like, oh, they're here, they're alive, I have to save my brothers. Little does Jadasattva know that these two legendary mascots are being used by two evil monsters or tyrants in a guild war. So now, he's not only coming to save them, but he's also trying to break them apart and stop this war. How much time does it take you on average to make each mon? I would say the simpler ones just takes 30 minutes to an hour, as long as I already have a clear concept about it. But for like my starters or the legendaries, usually it takes 2 to 3 hours. That already includes brainstorming, sketching, line art, and coloring. What made you decide which gym leaders and professor goes to which clan? I think you're referring to the Beijan Guild, how the gym leaders and one professor were separated to be a member of the Red Feathers and the Azure Scale. I think the main reason why I gave them this specific guild was not because of their physical appearance. I think it's more on their personality. You know, for the Azure Scales, they're more on the calm side. They basically, if you just look at them, you see the aura of blue. And then when you go to the Red Feathers, everyone's just like powerful, authoritative, and just screams power. And then for Professor Prunus, randomly, you might think, randomly, it's like, why is Professor Prunus there? Because Tian is not part of either guild, as mentioned in the story. He will play a very important role though while the guild war is happening. But Professor Prunus, I was just like, I only introduced the professor at the very beginning and then that's it. So I kind of felt bad that he's not given any screen time on the adventure. So I was just like, you know what, let's include him to the guild war to just bring him back to the scene and give him some Pokemon, and then people would, be surprised that, oh, Professor Prunus has some strange or strong Pokemon with him. What are themes of Jade Dynasty? I think this question was asked because on my previous region and on my current region, I always value that there will be a central or integral theme in each region. I think for Red Hail and Black Tier, the Canada-based region, I think the theme there was the natives versus the modern people. In the Ilpino region, Sanity and Madness, the theme there is basically LGBT love and the idea of cults. And then for the Jade Dynasty or Beija, I think the main theme here is enlightenment and resurrection. Resurrection involving the antagonists and bringing back the legendaries, and enlightenment because there's going to be a one special character that will reach a certain level of enlightenment that you might not realize that, oh, he or she was very integral to the story all along. So just like going through the stages of enlightenment, and at the very end, he or she will be a very great Beijan figure. Spoilers. Alright, how did you approach this region at the start when you had barely anything for it? To be completely honest with you, this is the whole catalyst of why I started the region. So, Lele. Why Lele? Because, like, as I mentioned before, when I was playing through Black Myth Wukong, when I got to the point where, some Wukong was battling the 4 Heavenly Kings in, like, this kaiju-inspired battle where everyone's just, like, gigantic and they're on top of the mountains. I was so inspired by these 4 people. So basically, the first characters that I made for the Beija region were the 4 Heavenly Kings. Because as I was looking at this specific character, the one with the umbrella, I was like, you know what? I want to create a trainer that has an umbrella that's like, it generates electricity when it spins its umbrellas. And then so I was like, okay, let's make a character. And so I came up with Lele. And then after that, okay, let's make the second one, you know, this king who has a giant pipa that he plays music with. And then I was thinking, what typing should he be? And I was just like imagining this trainer sitting on a tree playing his pipa, and then all of these grass starters are like listening and, you know, being relaxed by the music. And so I created Limboen. So I was like, oh great, now I created two, now I have to finish the other two. And so I draw Hanzo, and then the last one I think was Kashmir, because that's the trainer that I had the most difficulty with designing. By the way, this is Kashmir's beta design. She didn't make it. I scrapped it out. I hated her outfit. But because it's like the three, they have literal materials that they're holding, you know, a sword, a pipa, and an umbrella. But for the other one, it's like a serpent or a snake. So I was like, how am I gonna make that into something that a trainer can hold? So I was like, oh, hey, let's just make a girl that has a boa. A boa is a snake. Boa is also a term for some serpents. So it's like she's wearing this huge boa, and then she's going to be seductive. And there you go. And now when I finished creating these 4 trainers, I was like, that's it. I'm gonna make a region just because these 4 people, just these 4 people inspired me so much. So, you know, thanks to our 4 heavenly kings, we have the Beija region. Next is, will we get to know all inspirations for each mon? If not, at least tell the inspo for Borgi evolution line. I think not, because most of the time the inspirations were already included on their dex entries. Not all, but most of them. And coming to Borgi's design, which I think is such an amazing and cute Pokemon, it's basically inspired by Zubaji. He's the companion of Sun Wukong. If you're familiar with Journey to the West, he's this friend, a companion of Sun Wukong that he travels with, that he can actually transform into a boar and a catfish. And so I was just like, how am I gonna make that into a Pokemon? So I was just like, okay, let's just make a bulbous mon with a body of a boar or a pig, and then with the face of a catfish. And then the name's basically Zubaji. I changed the ba into a boar, and then when it evolves, it becomes Zuborgi. I think it's fun. I think it's amazing, and I think it's witty. This isn't an ask, but I want to say that I love Jade Dynasty. Excuse me. And I wish this is a real game, manga, or anime. Thank you. I mean, yeah, it's not a question, but it's really heartwarming to read these kinds of comments. You know, some people, they're just mean and rude to the comment section, and you will find out that they're not even following you. But these kinds of people who just leaves amazing words, just like, this sparks our motivation to just keep going. So thank you to everyone who's enjoying the projects that we create, because we do put a lot of time and effort into this. So yeah, thank you so much. What would Ash Ketchum's theme in Pokemon Jade Dynasty be? Interesting question. I haven't actually thought of that. You know, but let's see. Okay, there we go. I actually made a list because I don't know what Ash would pick. But for me, I'm imagining him, of course, with his Pikachu. And then I think I would give him Samaranthus as his starter. Like, it kind of like reminiscent of Greninja in some way. And then I would also give him a Doliphrane. Not Crane Nimbus, just a Doliphrane, because I imagine him having this juvenile Pokemon. It's just like Charizard and like his previous Pokemon. It's like very hard for him to give orders, very hard for him to train. So I think a Doliphrane fits that perfectly. I would also give him Ratini and Borgi, you know, not their evolved forms, because I want them. I think Ash has that thing with him that he refused to evolve his Pokemon. So I can just like imagine Ratini and Borgi just running around and being goofy and being fun with Pikachu. And then the last one is probably Semestial, our winning entry for the Beijing art contest. You know, I don't really have an explanation for that, just Sun Wukong. Again, kind of like giving homage to Infernape. This is for my friend. When Champion Erna gets bored, does she ever throw a disguise and challenge random trainers to battle? I think on her concept art. Wait, did I ever post her concept art? Okay, so I just found out that I forgot to post Erna's concept art, but I'll be showing it right now. On her concept art, I actually made a separate look of her where her hair is down. I think that's where I imagine her just, you know, not doing her champion duties and just going around Beija training and battle random trainers. So yeah, there you go. Is there a DLC? Okay, Here's the thing about the term DLC. For me personally, I'm not a big fan of the term DLC because there's nothing to be downloaded in our content. There's nothing to be downloaded in our region. It's like, okay, no offense to other creators out there because I know that they do have the term DLC, and after the champion, they have a DLC content. But for me personally, I don't really like that. I would prefer the term post-game or maybe like a second chapter. Okay, so basically those were the interesting questions that I found. There are many, many more questions here, but some of them, they're just like close-ended questions, and some were just like, hey, what's your favorite this or what's your favorite that? But the most frequently asked question that I noticed is this. It's sad that Jade is almost over. What's next after? Tease for your next region. What's next after Jade Dynasty? After completing this region, what is your next project? So basically people are just like asking what's next to Beija because it's like I said, it's a bittersweet moment that we're nearing the end. And to be completely honest with you, I don't have an answer to that because I have a video prepared for you. So before I end this Q&A, I just want to say again, thank you for participating. Thank you for enjoying Beija region. What's next after Beija region? Please enjoy this video. Once again, it's R. James. Bye.